Hello guys, Mr.Orange, and today is part 1 of our Let's Play of Dear Eastern Landmark Edition. So this is actually a game on the Xbox One for only $5 or €5. I don't know how it's called, but this game is only €5, and I thought to myself, why not buy this game and make an episode about it? Because I already saw some people playing already. I did not spoil myself, but I just saw a couple of videos people were making, and I thought, why not give a try on this game, because it looks pretty interesting, not lying. The graphics and everything like that, I already saw a little bit of the game, but not a lot. I think like 5 minutes of it. But yeah guys, let's get into this game. A very beautiful game, not lying. Pretty interesting. I'm just a little bit hyped, like 1%. Ooh, it's made by Chinese Room. Very nice song. Very relaxing. In collaboration with Robert Little from the UK. Curvy Digital. I think these three companies I pretty much maybe know. Okay, there's the game. Straight in. Let's press A. Wow. Look at the game. Wow, okay, let's actually start. Let's start in the lighthouse. Directions and commentary. Let's do that. Let's start in the lighthouse. It's a very interesting game. Looks like a pretty good game, not lying. I want to just get into the screen and just see everything. Okay. Wow.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan Pinchbeck, I'm the creative director of the Chinese Room, and this is the Dear Esther developers commentary.
Hi, I'm Robert Briscoe, I'm the artist on Dear Esther.
And I'm Jessica Curry, and I was the composer on the game.
So what you're looking at today is a remake of a mod. Dear Esther started off in 2007 as a Half-Life 2 mod that did really, really well in the modding community, which was fantastic, and as a result of that attracted the attention of Rob, who worked as the primary developer on a Source remake of the game that was released in 2012. And this year is another remake where it's been updated for a cross-platform release, and we wanted to add in this developer's commentary just to give you a bit more of an insight into some of the ideas behind the game as it came together.
Oh, okay. So it's like kind of a commentary game, I see. Okay, that's disgusting. Really? Okay, I wanna see the next text. There you go.
So you'll see around you in a lot of the environments, there's a lot of detail ingrained into everything.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to do with Dear Esther is bring the visuals up to the same kind of level of detail that Dan and Jess had put into the other areas of the game. So all of the history and the kind of hidden pieces of story that are intertwined with the VOs and the music and stuff, I kind of wanted to bring some of that into the environments. So if you look around you, you'll see that there's a lot of interesting bits and pieces, a piece of paper with someone's name on it,
really?
a photograph, an ultrasound. All of these little bits and pieces I kind of laid in to just kind of bring another aspect of the story into the game. And also, they're actually randomized, so every time you play, you'll see something different lying around.
Oh, wow.
This is just to build on this idea that everybody has a unique experience and a unique interpretation of the story.
Wow, okay.
Part of the point about the whole game, I think, was this idea that rather than having a linear, straight-through version of the story, that we could have multiple story units for each place you were, and I was really interested in this idea of how you can open up that space that people can interpret. So I loved the idea that you could have two people that had played this game and then would have a conversation about it, and one of them would say, oh, what did you think about when this happened? And the other person would be like, well, that didn't happen for me. I had a completely different event happen or a completely different story happen. And it kind of feels very gamey in that way, that actually one of the things I love about writing for games is that you hand over so much control to the player that it becomes their story, and that's really, really important rather than trying to force them. So using randomised blocks of voiceover in the game and the kind of randomised prop details that Rob was talking about means that it gives it a really different feeling every time you go through. And that's kind of interesting for me, because I like the idea of going, well, not everyone has to have the same experience, and because it's interactive.
When I wrote the music for the mod of Dear Esther, there was absolutely no budget whatsoever for live players, so all the music was sampled.
Wow.
But one of the good things about that is it actually forced me to be quite creative about how I wrote the music. So with my background in sound art, I wanted to use samples in a different way that wasn't just using it to sound like a violin. I wanted to time stretch and manipulate samples to make something different and strange and quite unique. But then when we got the Indie Fund money, I had the amazing opportunity to re-record the music with live players. And that was so exciting for me, actually, because that's where it comes to life. And I thought long and hard about whether to write new music, going from the mod to the commercial version, but actually I decided that my initial and original emotional response to the game was probably going to be the strongest response and reaction that I had. So I just literally, the music that I'd written for samples, I then wrote out for live instruments. But what they bring to it is transformative, actually. And I think The Beach is a really good example of this, where, you know, you have these awful samples soaring away, and then you have the string quartet playing this very bleak, very sparse music, and they bring the presence of the island immediately to it, and it comes to life. And that's the exciting thing about it. It wasn't a huge budget, but just having that experience of working with the players was just magical.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool, not lying. Okay, let's go to our next little thingy.
So something I wanted to do as an artist was create some kind of reward for the player when they explore the island. There are some areas of the game where it's a little bit more quieter, there's no music or there's no voiceovers. So I kind of wanted to create a bit of an incentive for people to explore. And you'll find around the island that these kind of like random scattered items that are usually slightly out of place from the environment themselves, but in another aspect they actually bring a little bit of story to the island itself, usually to the island or to the actual protagonists or you know, the characters that surround it. So you'll find that around the island these little props and stuff. Just keep your eye out for it if you're exploring.
Oh. Yeah, guys, I'm actually kind of liking this game. Like, I think this is a demo or something like that, or like a, you know, the half of the game, but it looks very good. I'm actually pretty hyped about this game now. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
So people have asked why the Dear Esther's set on a Hebridean island. What's really interesting about this is it's one of those times when your kind of aspirations as an artist and the practical realities kind of dovetail. We knew that we had to have some way of limiting the player from disappearing off the play space, and when we made the original, it was a mod, and because it was a Half-Life 2 mod, you kind of had Eastern European city, spaceship, or blasted, desolate landscape. We had three options if you didn't want to start making
I fell.
assets. So it started off with these practical constraints. We don't want to set it on a spaceship, we don't want to set it in an Eastern European city, so it's got to be on this kind of like this desolate landscape. And we want to limit the player, so an island seems like a natural choice.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how you start from that, and we had this big lump of clay on a table that we were carving out paths and things to annoy the cleaners and things like that. And Jess and I were talking, and Jess started making
this is the zoom I see.
music to kind of go in there.
Very interesting.
And then all of a sudden we just went, oh, that's the story. Oh, that's what happened here. But it really started, I think, from the place. And when we started looking at photographs of Bore, we started going and reading some of the history behind it. Suddenly that was it. And it just was really, really naturally became, this is the place, this is what happened here, this is how it feels. And then everything else kind of coalesced around that.
Yeah, I think as an artist it made my job a lot easier, because those islands are so kind of like, the environment is kind of hostile. You're out there in the Hebrides. You've got this kind of like inclement weather. You've got cold, rain, snow. It's a very kind of it can be a very depressing place to be at times, but it's also at the same time very beautiful.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
this kind of like
beautiful.
stark,
Holy crap!
bare landscape, but that has this beautiful surroundings. So it's, in terms of art, I think it really helped me to portray a lot of the themes in Dear Esther.
And there was a natural fit with the music as well.
Yeah.
It suggested a musical style, which was really key, I think.
I think. Okay, so let's go to our next little text or something like that.
One of the things you're always trying to do as a composer is create memorable themes. And a slight confession is that probably the most memorable theme, which is Remember in Dear Esther, wasn't actually created for the game. Rob's looking shocked. So it was actually from a piece of choral music that I'd written years before, based on a Christina Rossetti poem called Remember. And one of the things I was talking about earlier was how I didn't have any budget. So I had this piece of choral music, and I thought, hang on, this is absolutely perfect for Esther. But I don't want to use all of it. So the only bit that you actually get in the game is the first line of the choral piece of music. But that actually went on to form the main theme of the music that I wrote. And I think for me it's really interesting about how things that you've written earlier, years before, sometimes come in really, really useful and fit. So I always tell people and students not to despair if something doesn't get used or doesn't work at the time, because actually there'll come a place or in a time where you think, hang on a minute, I've got something that fits. So in terms of that memorable theme, the Remember theme gets used in multitude of different ways during the game. And one of the things it does is helps you to identify the kind of psychic place that you're in the game. So the theme is played in lots of different ways, and actually you'll notice that as you go through the game, it becomes more and more broken and more manipulated and broken down as the player goes through the journey and as you're psychologically struggling to get to the end point in the game. So music's really, really useful for highlighting the psychological mood, and we talk a lot about psychogeography, which always sounds a bit pretentious, but actually I think it's really important to what the three of us did in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, maybe you want to
sort
talk
of like
a bit
the
about
core
that.
kind of idea about psychogeography. If you're not in the place you're in, is not the place you're in, or you create the place you're in. It's not just as you're here and then the landscape's out there, but you don't navigate like a city by street signs and by those kind of formal things. You navigate it by the things which are significant to you in the way that you've lived in that space. And I think that was really kind of key to, I think it's really central to how the fusion of art and story and music come together in Dear Esther, because it's not a place where we're going, right, we have to lead the player up here because it's a natural formation, and then you would naturally have a piece of music here because you come around a corner. But the story, music and art all work around the idea of what's going on in the narrator's head at this point. How do we represent his emotional state relative to this landscape? And again, it's that idea of the game is, it's a dream of a place. It's like the idea of it being a fever dream or a coma dream, which obviously ties in a lot with the kind of story, and we'll come back to in a lot more detail when we get to the caves a bit later on.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, this game is actually pretty nice, not lying. So, I don't know, I just found this on the store. I thought it's gonna be like a little game, but no, it's like a game they're right now working on, but, you know, they're giving like a little slight little walkthrough. You know, it's a game, like, I'm so hyped now. Like, my hype is like at 50%, not lying. This game looks beautiful. Okay, we are at the cave.
I think the central question to the entire experience for most people that have played it or are talking about it is this idea of, is the island real? Is what's going on a literal event of a man walking across a Scottish island, or is it a dream that he's had? Does the island even exist? And one of the things that we try to do with the writing is to constantly lull the player into a position where they got an understanding, they made a decision about what they thought was going on, and then to undercut it. So you never actually were able to settle on any one interpretation. And that was the challenge I set myself when I wrote the original mod, was can we put a story in a game that not only lends itself to multiple interpretations, but there is no stable interpretation. Every single interpretation you have will always have questions, and you'll never be able to fully trust what you think you understand about the game. So it's challenging, I think, for that result. It becomes quite a challenging kind of game story because of that, because you don't ever get that situation to go, I understand it now, I can walk away from this thing and it's all closed off and it's tidy. It was a very deliberate attempt to say, no matter where you think you are with this story, you're always questioning whether or not that's right.
Oh, wow. Like, guys, seriously, I thought this was a game, but, you know, I don't know. But this game looks beautiful, not lying. Like, everything looks like real. Like real things. And it's set off in the Scottish island, so, you know. And there's more to it this game, like, there are like 4 more things to explore, so let's explore this tape.
One of the things that's been most commented on with the audio and the music in Dear Esther is how sparse it is. And that was a really deliberate tactic. I wanted to leave room for the player to think and to dream and to wonder and to put their own interpretation into what was happening. And I think the problem with so much modern media is how bombarded we are constantly. It's the kind of MTV flash in your face, constant.
And I have legs. How the fuck? I'm walking. I'm a ghost, I think.
It really is constant
Endless,
music.
which is constantly telling you what you should feel, like really clearly, and it's like being kind of beaten up by the music sometimes.
And when you read a lot of reviews of Dear Esther, a lot of people say they had this time to think and to interpret, and that was one of their favourite things, that they placed themselves so directly into the game, and it's their experience. And I think that's actually the greatest success of the game on all points, from the story to Rob's art to the music, is we all left space for the player to dream.
What the heck is this? Chemistry. Actually gonna activate this tape. Let's do this. There you go.
So there's a lot of places in the game where you see a lot of strange things, and
Yes,
this
I
is very
see this.
deliberate. One of the things we wanted to do is just kind of like not spoon feed the player every little piece of story. We kind of just, some things are literally just in there to just kind of let you think and let you decide on whatever you want to bring to the story yourself. So it's kind of like I approached it like an impressionist painting, where you've got like this kind of very vague outline of things, but if you stare at it enough, you can kind of like fill in the spaces, and kind of the image comes together on its own. So a lot of these kind of strange pieces of geography and stuff, that's really kind of deliberate in some ways, just to kind of keep the player's mind open and kind of bring their own interpretations of the story through that.
No, we are stuck. Guys, we are stuck. Oh, no, we are loading. Okay, that's weird. But yeah, guys, this game is actually pretty nice, not lying. For a game. Oh. Donally. Finish the chapter of the lighthouse. Oh. So we finished, I think. Yeah.
When I was originally thinking about how to write the music for the game, I suddenly realised that you don't see anybody in the game. And
Yeah.
the most important character as such is the island itself. So one of the things that I did with the music was to write the island as if she or he were a character in its own right. And that's really important, I think, that you're going through this space and actually it's completely devoid of people, but the music in a way populates the island, and that the voice of the island speaks to you through the music.
Which is interesting, because I think that's really come on in terms of later games we've done, that sowed the seeds for the way in which we approach music in Rapture, where it
Wow,
was very
look at this
specific
boat.
voice of characters.
Look at
Machine
this.
Pigs as well, where the music was about being Lily's voice in the game, Lily's representation in the game. So it's interesting how, looking back on Esther, a lot of those kind of ideas were tried out here that then came on to take other forms in stuff we've done since.
very interesting. I'm actually gonna take this tape. I want to know how did they make this beautiful boat. Pretty abandoned.
So something you'll notice as you look around the environment is, from a distance you see the landscape. It's kind of a beautiful place in some ways.
Beautiful.
But something I wanted to bring to the game was that there's this second layer beneath the surface. Whereas if you look at things closely, you see that the actual island itself is very polluted. It's kind of very rotten. Everywhere you look, every rock, every grass surface, it has this layer of filth on it, and it's kind of been put in there just to kind of emphasize further that this island's a really unpleasant place to live. It's like if you scratch the surface, you see like just how corrupt this island is.
Yeah, it looks like a corrupt island. Very abandoned island. What does this mean? What does this mean? Okay, I don't know. But I think we're gonna... Or nah, we can follow this. But yeah, guys, this island is pretty... I like this game, guys. Like, to be serious, this game is the game of the year, pretty much. Almost. Not, But I'm just saying, if you want to see the full gameplay, you want to play for yourself, you don't want to watch this episode or something like that. Yeah, it's on a store for €5, $5. So buy it right now. It's like a discount. If the discount goes away, it's pretty much $10. So you don't want to pay that kind of money. It's pretty expensive. Actually, let's activate this tape, and then we're gonna go up this hill. There we go.
We cast and did all the voice direction for Esther ourselves for the mod, and it was basically Jess and I on a casting website, just listening to people's show reels and finding what's the voice of this thing. And there was never any question about Nigel. I think we heard his show reel for the first time round. It's probably been listened to sort of 30 or 40 actors, and we started listening to his show reel and just both looked at each other and went, "That's it, that's him." And it was amazing when Nigel came in. We had, I think, a day and a half to do the whole thing. And he just did that amazing thing that really, really great actors did. If he just walked in, got in front of the microphone, and more or less did the entire thing in one take. And we did hardly any retakes on anything. It just felt like his instinct for the character in the game was so strong.
Holy fuck.
But he just, without virtually any direction, just came in and just got it. And one of the hardest things with the voiceover that we did was when we went from the mod, which had 3 potential narrative units per queue, to 4 potential narrative units per queue, was not only finding new bits of writing that kind of complemented and played off what was there in the original mod, but for Nigel to come back in, nearly 5 years later, and to just re-find that voice in exactly the same way and deliver it in a way that fitted in and complemented it was a real testament to his ability as an actor, I think. That apart from we had spent quite a lot of time trying to make the sound actually sound the same in terms of mic placement and things like that, but in terms of the actual delivery of those new monologues, you wouldn't know that was both written and acted sort of 4.5 years after the original thing was done. So the one person who's not in the room sort of today but deserves a huge amount of credit for how the game kind of eventually was delivered, but also I think in terms of how the game has lasted, a huge amount of respect needs to go to Nigel Carrington for his work on it.
Yeah. These people are all the most amazing people that I listen to, just speaking.
One of the really important jobs of a composer, I think, is to provide the player or the listener with different emotional tones and states. And up until this point in the game, the music has been very sparse, very intimate, and very isolating.
I know, the music is great, but don't talk about the music a lot.
The island is also a beautiful and magnificent place, and what I wanted to do at this point for the first time in the game is to create something that was really epic. So we go from that shift in scale where it's very intimate and small to suddenly realising that this is an extraordinary and magical place to be, as well as a difficult and quite sad and melancholic place to be. Mm-hmm. So the string players were instructed at this point to play with much more vibrato. Up until this point they've played in a very sort of Scottish style actually, no vibrato, very plain playing. But this was a really beautiful cue to write, actually, because that has that scale. You suddenly realise that the island is really big, and you have this beautiful vista, and the music then shifts so the player can actually, just for a moment, I think, enjoy being where they are.
Yeah, I think that's it. Can I? Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually one of my favourite parts of the game. It's just where everything, all the elements kind of come together perfectly. You've got the music, which is just epic, as Jess has said. You've got the landscape, which is kind of like this big open space. You've got all the little bits and pieces that I put into the detail of the environment, like the movement. There's leaves blowing around, there's the clouds in the sky, there's the mist rising off of the grass, and then you've got Dan's voiceover coming in there, and I think it's just like all of these elements coming together and just in perfect synergy, and just kind of, it really brings chills up your spine.
Yeah. Okay, let's look in the next little dialogue.
Inside the bothy, there is a randomised chance that you can find an ultrasound picture on the table.
Oh.
And I think it's the one instance of randomisation in the game that is like the pinnacle of it, because the idea that Esther was pregnant when she died changes everything emotionally about how you understand the story. And not to say that you don't care as much if you don't find it, but it just adds this other layer of just the ground falls away from him the first time I saw it, and the meaning of the crash in Esther's death just means so much more when you go, it's not just about her, there was an unborn child here. And I think that's where the randomisation just hits its absolute peak, because it's one tiny detail that may or may not be there, but if it's there, it's going to fundamentally change the way you feel about the entire thing. And that's the strength that the randomisation elements in Esther kind of provide, that you go, your likely kind of feeling about the story and your understanding about the story can be changed so absolutely by the occurrence or not of one tiny little prop detail. And that's something which, those moments, I think, are what make it really, really special. So it's for me, it's almost like the most important prop in the game, because when it happens, it's so profound.
Yeah, and it's again, it's just something that makes each playthrough more personal, I think. This is what I love reading about, people finding these things and going, holy shit, I've just found this one thing that's going to change it. That's changed my interpretation completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's look at the next dialogue.
So one of the things that influenced the visuals quite a lot was the tech limitations at the time, and also the kind of themes of the game. Like, tech-wise, we were never ever gonna kind of achieve photorealism, and I think that was a good thing. I mean, really, it made us sort of stretch out into other areas, and for me as an artist, it kind of made me think a little bit more creatively. I did a few tests at the beginning, and when I realized this wasn't possible, I kind of went back and I kind of did some research on different styles, and one of the ones that really struck me was this kind of impressionistic painterly style, where it's kind of like there's just enough shape and color there for you to form an image, but a lot of it is just your imagination. It's kind of like the believability of the environment is in your mind. So this is something that I really wanted to bring over into the game, and you'll see a lot of landscapes that kind of look very surreal, very kind of unreal, and that's mainly due to this impressionistic style.
Wow, really? These people who made the game, not the game, but who are right now, I think, making the game, props to you guys, like, seriously. You're doing a great job.
One of the more interesting and challenging things to do in the visual side of things is to kind of create an emotional connection with the player. With the music, it's very strong, and the dialogue can kind of help you to feel what the character's feeling, but to kind of really create an atmosphere and to create emotion, it's very difficult. So I designed a few things very subtly within the environment to kind of plant imagery into your mind and kind of make you feel certain things.
Oh, we're inside of the cave, I
This
think.
shipwreck on the beach, you can kind of like, if you look at it from certain angles, you get this real like it's like a cross sticking up. It's this kind of semi-religious imagery. But
Holy
really
fuck!
Kind of,
Look at this
it's
cave.
not obvious. It's not in your face. It's just kind of like
Holy
something
fuck.
that makes you feel like something you know. And
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
there's a lot of deliberate attempts in the game.
Holy shit, what happened?
To recreate that feeling, and it's kind of hard to point out in many other places, but it's done in a way where every single rock, every single plant, every single cliff face has been deliberately placed and designed in a way to try and make you feel something in the game.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but... Okay, we're sunk into a cave, I think, or... I don't know what happened. Don't say we're inside of the cave or something like that. Okay, we're in the... Finish the chapter of Bui. Oh, okay. So I think we're going past this game pretty much very far, I see. Oh. I think we're inside of the cave. Holy shit. This cave looks amazing. Can I... Holy fuck. Oh, holy fuck. This looks amazing. Holy fuck. Dude. But I'm thinking about maybe ending our episode here. This is like the perfect ending of this game. Look how beautiful is this. Holy fuck. So yeah guys, I'm actually gonna end our part right here guys. So, you know, make sure to like and subscribe for more episodes of Dear Ever or something like that. I don't know what's the game called. I even forgot it. But yeah guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow my Twitter. Everything is in the link below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!